in the corner.
Yep,
Yeah,
I
I
see
think
it.
we're going. Okay, here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back to the White Lotus, the penultimate episode we're here to discuss. Season 3, Episode 7, Killer Instincts. My name is Axel. With me, of course, is Jenny. Gina is not here today. But if you love what you hear and you want to hear more, you should subscribe to Daily DVR, which is a conglomeration of all of our podcasts. And you should go to dvrpodcast.com. You could also become a patron, like so many awesome people that we've welcomed over the past couple of months, covering Severance and White Lotus. Every time we do a new show, we bring in new people, new listeners. Some people we never get to meet them. Other people, they become our friends. We talk to them on the Facebook or they email. And sometimes they become a podcaster, like Jenny.
Yes,
What's
sir.
up, Jenny?
Oh, yeah, that was a long back reach there because I remember I used to send you feedback on podcast Winterfell
Yeah.
because I had listened when it was Matt's podcast. And I one time sent you a voice memo and you played it on the podcast. And not too long after that, you asked me to be on a podcast with you. And I
Yeah.
don't even remember which one, but that was that's our history.
There it is.
That is how I became a part of
Yeah.
DVR podcast.
And
Um,
that's how Heath and I got to know each other.
yeah.
That's how Andy came on,
And that's how
Gina,
I know
Brett.
Andy. That's how I know
Yeah.
Gina. That's how I know you. That's how I know Heath. I mean, that's how I know all of
From
you
listening to the
from
show.
this podcast. So it's fun. And I've gotten to meet some of you in real life. I met you. I've met
You did.
Gina. I haven't had the opportunity to meet Andy and Heath or Brett or any of the other folks yet, but I've met a couple of you. So,
One day.
check that off the list, but it's
Yep.
been fun. And this was a very good episode. And we are missing Gina this week because she
Yeah.
is in Europe on vacation, and I hope
Ooh-wee.
she is having a blast without us. But we're here to talk about this one, and yeah, it's going to be fun. I hope that our buddy Andrew, or as
Yeah.
you call him, Ando,
And Calrissian.
winds up joining us because
Yeah.
he was invited, but he had a little conflict. So hopefully
Yeah.
he'll be able to join us in a little bit.
Yes, we are going to see if Andy comes on. Um, he might jump on at any point, which then we might rewind a little bit and just ask him how he's feeling about the whole season and whatnot. And you're right, we are missing Gina. And it is fun to look back and talk about the past and how we all got here. But that's why I love the page. That's why I mentioned the Patreon and the Facebook page, and that we're live on YouTube. Subscribe and do all that kind of stuff because we want to keep on growing. And even though this is coming to an end, we've only have one more week. That's why I want to encourage everyone, if you enjoy listening to us, subscribe to Daily DVR, go to DVR Podcast, join the Facebook group. Because what I usually do is when a new show comes out, I create a separate feed because that's what people search for. And then on Daily DVR, everything's on there anyway. So any new show we're going to do. But let's get to the episode. This was an interesting one for me. Okay. And this one was a little tough. This was a little hard for me because I did not expect this heel turn from Mook, that she would become so like indignant in the face of Guy Talk not wanting to be violent. It's like that. I don't know. It's a weird place to start, but for me, that was one of the most surprising things of the episode. That she was like, see, look, they're violent. You can do it. Like, what the fuck was going on with that? That was
It
weird.
it was a little odd. I'm not sure what to think of it either, but like I mean, maybe she finds that to be a more manly, quote
Mm,
unquote, type
yeah.
man or
Yep.
something.
Yep.
And because like she saw him or knew that he had saved the day or whatever with the robbery, but honestly, it was his fault, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, she I think she knows what's up at this point. I think she's maybe that's what's giving her this impetus. But I try to think of like what it kind of means for the show overall because I didn't really expect it. They were so sweet together and she seemed to be liking him a little bit more. And I guess in my stupid man way, because men don't always see things the way they are, Jenny, I don't know if you knew this.
Yes,
But
we've discussed that before.
yeah, I thought, oh, she's kind of attracted to his vulnerability and the fact that he's kind of quietly trying. But in fact, no, she actually really wanted him to try and get that job and go forward and be more ambitious,
Yeah, I was kind of proud of
you
him
know?
for like trying to let her know
Me
that,
too.
hey, I'm not going to do this. Because, I mean, he's the worst security guard ever. And it's like,
Yeah, this isn't
finally,
for
we
him.
see that he realizes that he's not good. Like,
Yeah.
his boss kind of telling him, I don't think you have it in you, made him come to the realization, he's right. I don't have it in me. This is not what I want. And so, he wanted to let her know. And I'm also surprised that she expects him. I don't know. I really don't know. Also, I thought you were more ambitious and wanted a better job.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe she thinks he lacks ambition, and maybe that's what she's looking for. Maybe she doesn't want to remain in their little village for the rest of her life. I mean, we kind of got that in their little talk at the beginning when he was like, I live right in we
Definitely.
live near each other, and she's
Yeah.
like, but I'm excited about doing these other things and whatever. So that, maybe she was, because she thought he had some ambitions, she was starting to look at him in a new light, and now she thinks he lacks ambition, so she's trying to push him to be ambitious, but we'll see how it turns out. I don't know. I hope that, yeah, I don't know.
I no, I agree with you. I think that you got your finger on the pulse there of Mook and I would try to say it the way she says it. Talk. It's that language is really interesting. The guttural sounds, and then
Mm-hmm.
it kind of goes from soft to hard. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's doing something. Um, in the beginning, I liked the fact that she was ambitious to grow her worldview and
Mm-hmm.
grow out of the town she grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always a person like one of my favorite song lyrics ever was Kurt Cobain, "Get away from your home." Right? This, I think it's important for everyone to get away from their home at some point. You can come back, but you gotta
I'm only like
leave.
40 miles away. That
Hey,
doesn't
but you know
count,
what?
does it?
I think it does. I think it does, Jenny, because I
I
think
mean,
there's
I
a
live
lot
in
of
the
people.
city, and I grew up in a
There you
it was
go.
considered a city, but it was like 15 to 18,000 people, so it was not big.
Well, but
Not
you
big.
know what? You get out and see the world. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
Is
I
get out
love
and
to
see the
travel.
world. Yeah, just get see how other people live and hey, there's nothing wrong with being a townie or you live in the town you grew up in, you love the people you love, you feel comfortable there. But that's because it's a choice, right? Like and that's what I think she wanted. I think that's how what I felt from her. She just wanted a choice, right?
Yeah.
But now I feel not so on her side, or I don't feel so I don't know,
I
I
just
guess
think that Guy Talk
empathetic
may
with
not
her.
be, I just think he may not be for her.
I think he's not for her, but I also do think that in the very first scene we saw her when she was eyeing the security guards, she'd rather be with a guy like that. I
Hmm.
think that turns her on. I think it's exciting to her. I think that's what she wants. And I think Guy Talk is too nice and boring and peaceful for her. You're right. But is she going to push him to be the trigger man in the next episode? This is what we're all wondering. That's why I mentioned it, of course.
So, what did you say right just before that? Because you said Trigger Man and it brought that other part back. Oh,
She'd rather like the security guys. That's what I
yes.
was talking
So
about.
we know, thank you. So we know that they were not the perpetrators of the robbery. We know it was the Russians
Yeah,
because Guy
yeah.
Talk had, and when I watched it the first time, I was multitasking. I wasn't watching it very well, but I was glad I noticed that on my second watch because I was like, oh, he's having memories. He realizes, and he also remembered that Valentine was the one who had stopped the gate from being closed. So
It all came
he
back
it
to
all
him.
came back to him. So what's he gonna do with that information?
That's the
And
key.
then also going with the Russian theme, Lori finally, we can talk about them later, the girls, but she saw the after he tried to get her to give him $10,000 because he
Yeah.
thinks she's some rich American,
She saw the
that she
necklace.
saw the jewels and
Yeah.
the gold in that closet. So yeah.
It's all coming together. So
Yeah.
what's going right? Like,
But does she know that the hotel was robbed? Because I was
yes,
wondering that
yes.
today. Are you sure? Because Chloe was in the bathroom or changing room or something. Chelsea was there and the lady who worked there was there and Guy Talk and then the manager. I think they may be the only people who like knew. Do you think they went around like telling people that they were robbed?
No,
Does
yeah,
everybody
everybody
know?
knew. Everybody knew.
Are
It
you
was
sure?
so,
I don't
yeah, they
remember
pulled
that.
right out. There were people in the hall. There were people walking past when they
Okay.
ran
I
in
don't
and
I
ran
don't
out.
remember.
And then the
I
cops
didn't
were
take
there
notice of that and
after.
I didn't go back to watch, so
Yeah,
I wasn't sure
yeah,
if everyone knew that the hotel
yes.
had been robbed. So, well, the jewelry store or
I
whatever,
assume
but
that everyone knows she
okay.
stopped. And also, we got the typical, what's that? We're like, oh, for those of you listening and not watching, I just did what she did, which is she ran, she stopped, she looked at the jewels, then she jumped out the window. So it's like there was a moment
The
of
lady was
recognition there.
smacking her in the
Yeah,
face. That was so funny.
that was crazy. I thought she was going to break her ankle when she fell. It was like, how far is this?
Yeah, it
Um,
wasn't very far.
but putting that all together, going back to Guy Talk and Mook, seeing the way she is pushing Guy Talk to be more violent. It's okay to fight. Oh, if it's self-defense, it's okay. He says he doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to harm anything. And he mentions this why? Because he's a Buddhist. And he
Mm-hmm.
says the same thing I talked about on this show, that you don't
Mm-hmm.
harm anything, even a bug, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do not hurt life. You don't stop. Even there, there are there is also, I can't remember if it's Jainism or Buddhism where it gets so, some sects get so deep that they actually consider, I think it's Jainism, that that's the reason why you don't wash your hair, because in doing so you kill microscopic um, creatures that are living in your hair or your bug or your face, and you use certain soaps that don't also harm these microscopic creatures, because we all have, like, if you took a microscope and looked at your face,
Yes,
there's little
let's not
bugs
talk
living in your
about it.
face.
Let's not. There's
Yeah.
the mites in your eyelashes. Yes, let's not talk about that.
Okay,
You.
so that it can get that deep. And when he was saying this, my allegiances and my heart instantly flipped from Mook to Guy Talk. I liked her. I thought she was kind of sweet on him, but wanted a bigger, better world. And he was kind of a doofus. Now I've come to see that he has thought about this. He's acting as a result of his own beliefs and his own thought process and who he is. But I fear that now that everything's exposed, Jenny, is it going to come to a big head where he tries to use the gun against the Russians because of what has been found out, and then he ends up hurting someone in the process that he didn't mean to hurt? That's my fear, because that's a lesson in violence, right? When you can't control
Oh, somebody
violence.
else is on the notes. So is Andy waiting to join?
Oh, oh,
I see somebody else
oh. No, I think
on
it's
the
Guy Talk. I
notes.
think it's Guy Talk on the notes. It's probably, it can only be Andy or Gina. Maybe Gina's in
or
Europe looking
he.
at our notes. He's not in
Says,
the chat
but
yet,
it's
so
like
let's continue with the
anonymous.
pod. Okay, what do you
Anyway,
think?
what? Sorry.
Jenny got
That was
distracted.
distracting.
Okay, all right. Oh, that was like when I was saying hello to you in the notes one time. Remember that? Well, you
Yes,
were in the
yes.
notes, and I was like, "Hello, Jenny. I can see you." Google Docs is kind of creepy. I'm
um,
worried that this is all turning into she's going to go back and talk about the jewels. Somehow, Guy Talk is going to get involved with he's and I think that perhaps maybe we might get a shot where the Russian goes back with the girlfriend, walks past the jewels, realize she saw them, which then puts her in danger. You see what we didn't get that,
oh yeah,
but
so if the Russians like come to take care of Lori and Guy Talk
yes,
sees them and tries
that's
to
thank. Now
that
you're
makes
catching up
sense.
with
Yeah.
me. There you
That makes
go.
sense.
Oh,
That
hey,
actually
Grandpa
does make
James. By the
sense.
way, Grandpa James is in the old
Hey
YouTube chat.
James.
It does make sense, and it kind of where it scares me, and it does kind of, though I think reflect the overall kind of lessons themes of this show, which is it's interesting to me because I see this a lot. Oh, here's Ando. Awesome, Ando's joining. He is joining us. Good catch,
Yay.
Jenny. I will continue my theme later, but we will stop. We will kind of go in and introduce Ando, let him get his bearings. Basically, to make a long story short, it's interesting the way Mook is kind of pushing Guy Talk into a sort of kind of toxic masculinity when so much of this show is kind of reflecting that with Saxon and the dad and right. I think it's interesting that you have what is these enablers, which are Mrs. Ratcliffe, right? You see, even in a
Ratliff,
way,
yeah.
Chloe,
Victoria, yeah.
right?
And all of them. So Chloe
Yeah,
enables
it
Gary
exact.
Gregg, and
They all have their
Victoria
their female enablers that help them.
enables Tim, and yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Jenny's
Chelsea
like, I've
doesn't
seen that before.
necessarily, she doesn't really enable Rick. She tries to keep
Really?
him in line. She does somewhat, but she also like made him go to the sessions with
She did.
Amrita. He
She's
would not have, I
trying.
mean,
She's
she is
trying.
trying.
But it's isn't
So,
it the
yeah,
typical bad guy with the woman who's trying to change him and make him
trying to
better?
save him. Yeah,
The guy, right? The
she
guy can
feels
never
like
do.
he's her soulmate. She's into the woo woo, and that's
Yeah.
fine.
But I mean, it's just a tip. I think I like the way Mike White plays with that, right?
Hmm.
Like, and then you have the three women, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's very interesting. All right, good talk. We're going to transition. Andy's here. Hi, Andy. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us from your meeting. How did the meeting go? Good.
Well, sorry I'm late. I was actually out water skiing with Walton Goggins. And, or wait, which HBO show are we talking about here? I'm not even sure anymore.
The Righteous Lotuses, I think it's
Yes,
called.
yes.
I haven't watched Sunday's Gemstone episode. I actually just watched Yellow
Oh, it's
Jackets from
amazing.
last Friday, just before we started recording. And
Oh, we
Gemstones was
could
in its
talk
full
about that.
crazy
yeah,
glory last
Yeah.
last Sunday. So
yeah.
yeah.
I am not
Friday.
So
up to
anyways,
speed.
Friday. It's not on Friday.
Yes,
Yellow
yeah,
Jackets
I
is.
watched it on Friday.
Hmm.
But I'm not up to speed with Righteous Gemstones. I watched like half of the first season. I really liked it, but then typically there was so many other things that I've got, you know what I
the
mean?
fir
It's one I'll go back to and watch.
the first episode of this season is one of the craziest things I've ever seen a show do. So
Oh
And it
God,
was
I love
very
it.
weird that they did that. I was like, the fuck?
Okay, no spoilies. All right, let's get to White Lotus.
yes,
Andy, thank you
yes.
for coming on. Those of you who are White Lotus listeners, you may also listen to us talk about so many other shows, Severance, Mayor of Kingstown, how many Murder at the End of the World. We've Andy has been on so many great shows. Andy, we have not talked. I think we may have done like a
We
one-off
talked about it
where
for maybe
a
five
little
minutes
bit,
here.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
last week.
you're up to
Yeah, I
speed
heard you
now.
guys.
How are you feeling about White Lotus season 3 and where we're at now? Only one episode left, by the way.
I think this last one was that last episode. I think is actually my favorite episode of this season. I've been like I said on that other one. I've been up and down with this show. I really hated the first season. I didn't even watch the second season until you and Gina and Jenny all said you were going to cover it. I'm like, well, I better get caught up on season two. And I loved season two, so I was actually excited for this season. And I don't. I mean, I know there's some people that have complained it's too slow and everything. I don't. That to me, that's not a problem. I'm kind of like your guest last week. I've had a hard time embracing the characters, which is weird because I love almost the entire cast. I love all these actors, love everything they've all, not everything, but lots of other things they've done. So this last episode though, really, I think I really love this last episode. I'm sure you guys have already talked about it. But what did you guys think of this last week?
We
Yeah,
haven't gotten that far,
Oh, you
honestly.
haven't?
yeah.
We
Okay.
No, no,
were
no.
we have only really talked about Guy Talk and
And
Mook.
Mook.
But I
Yeah.
wanted to say to
Okay.
you, Andy, because we didn't start right at 5, because of course we didn't. But
Of course. Yeah, of course.
oh, when I heard you say basically what you just said on the podcast from the other day,
Yeah.
I actually listened to it today. I was like, I kind of can relate because I have enjoyed White Lotus. And when Axel asked me if I wanted to be on with him and Gina to podcast for this season, I actually thought about it for a little bit before I said yes, because I like the show, but it's not a show that I like love. And so I was
Hmm.
like, that's a commitment. And I would look to see like how many episodes I was like, okay, that's not that many episodes. But it does make it harder when you don't love something to like make the commitment to sit down and take notes and be committed
Yeah.
to it. I love talking about it, but sometimes the note taking gets a little tedious when you're not in love with a program. But I have really enjoyed this season overall. I like it. I still don't love it, but I've enjoyed watching the characters and the different story arcs and everything. And yes, it has been a little slow, but as I've mentioned previously, I really like looking at the locations too. What do you think of the
Yeah.
locations?
Yeah, oh that part's all amazing. And that's one it's one of these shows too that I respect almost more than I like because the production is amazing. It always looks
Yeah,
great, the acting is
yeah,
always great,
yeah.
the music is
And
cool,
you
everything
always
about
hate
it.
the characters. You
Yeah,
get like hate everybody
and
almost.
the thing is I don't understand really why that is because there's other shows where I've hated all the characters and like Succession, a show where I don't like anyone on that
Right,
show and I
right, right.
loved that show. So I
Yeah.
don't there's some kind of disconnect from getting me to really love this show. But I at the same time I know other people in my real life people, not podcast friends that I have that love this show that think it's
Hmm.
the best show that they've seen and just absolutely just rave and rant and they people couldn't believe I hated the first season. So I don't quite get I don't know something isn't this last episode though I it pulled me back way back in more like the second season did. So
I like
Okay.
the
I'm curious to
style
see where
that
it
it's
goes.
filmed in too.
Yeah,
Like the
for
way
sure.
it's filmed, I like that too. That's another
Hmm.
thing. Like how, I don't know, Axel, can you explain like what that is? Like what it is that I'm seeing that I like about how he's filming it that's different, the way he cuts in between the scenes, the interstitials and all that. Like do you
You, you
and
just explained it.
and
Yeah.
the yellow tone, like have you guys noticed that? Like it's got like a yellow filter
Like pollen
almost.
almost.
Yeah,
Yeah. Or
but
like
it was like that.
sun
So I
drenched.
actually started watching season 1 again because I was like, I don't remember anything. What is wrong with me? So I was watching it and it's yellow too. And I was like, oh, I think he just kind of has a yellow filter on for this series because I had not realized that. But like in that one picture, actually a couple different pictures that I've seen from this season. One where the Ratliffs were walking to the yacht where they're all
Yep.
in a
Yep.
line, and then the other
Hmm.
one where they're doing the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no
Uh-huh.
evil on the ferry ride over. That both of those kind of have a yellow filter on them too. So I don't know, but it's interesting. It's different, and I that's part of what makes me enjoy it and keep it up there with shows that I really want to give
Yeah,
kudos to at the end of the year, even though I don't love it.
yeah.
Ando, what was it in particular about this episode, or is there a particular storyline we can kind of start talking about it that you enjoyed, and we'll
Well,
dive into it.
I mean, for one thing, there's a reason why I mentioned Walton Goggins. I love anything he does, and he is the I love his I shouldn't say love, but I enjoy everything with him, and I can never I just enjoy him as an actor in general. So that's my favorite part of this season is the stuff with Walton Goggins and his wife, well, not wife, but girlfriend, and his quest he's on. The relationship him and his girlfriend have, I think, is I think one of the more interesting ones too. So that's my just everything involving. And you guys will have to help me because I can't always remember the characters' names. The actor, I often refer
His
to them as
girlfriend,
actors. So
his girlfriend
yeah,
is
I can't.
Chelsea.
What's Walton Goggins' character's name? I can't even remember what his name is.
Rick.
Rick.
It's
Rick.
Rick
There you
and
go.
Chelsea.
Rick. Yeah.
Rick and Chelsea. Yeah, that's the storyline that I like the most is with those two
Yep. And
and what's going on there. So, and
all right,
I think,
so
well, in this episode, I should say, I think there was a little more humor. I found more humor in this episode too. I laughed a few more times than I had in the past, which I think helped, if that makes sense.
yeah, I agree. I think that this particular holy cow, hold on a second. I'm trying to look on something online. It's like slowing down my whole fucking computer.
Yeah, you froze there for half a second on mine. I
Did
just
I
assumed it was
really?
mine. Yeah,
Yeah. See,
I
that's
just
what
assumed it was
happens,
me.
man. Sometimes I was just looking, what I was trying to do is you were talking about names.
Yeah,
Um,
I pulled up a list here so I can see
yeah,
pictures of
that's
the
what I was
characters'
looking at because I
names.
was trying to find Jim
Yes, because
is Rockwell's name,
I have the
right?
cast list in the
Okay.
notes that
So
if you click
what's
there, but it
Rockwell's
doesn't have
name?
Yep.
pictures.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
Uh,
what's
know.
Rock?
That's why I looked it up. Sorry.
Jim,
Go.
the
Okay.
Sritala's
So,
husband, his name is Jim.
oh no, how, but Sam Rockwell's name and
Frank.
Frank, I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
Frank. There we
So
go.
we
Frank.
now we come back now. Last episode we left off. We saw Jim coming down the steps, right?
Yes.
We could see who it was. We are like, oh shit, look who it is. But then it cut, and we just saw the face of Walton Goggins. Now we get to watch this hilarious, which, like you're talking about, this episode was very funny. This hilarious thing where they're sitting there trying to talk about what movies he's seen of hers,
Yeah.
and
And he's
then
clearly seen none.
he's not, and then
Yeah.
she's kind of, he's doing a good job though, and the whole time he's got a Lowe's hat on, which was hilarious because he just has a cap on because directors wear baseball caps.
Yes.
So he
Yes.
just put a baseball cap on. And that whole scene was ridiculous. And the way that Rick was just sitting there, kind of like, uh-huh. And the way he was looking over at Jimmy, right? He was looking over at him.
Hmm.
And as he was looking at him, of course, we're all thinking, is this his father or is this the guy that killed his father?
I
Yeah.
do
What's
think it's
going
his
on?
father.
Yeah, but
I'm.
Yeah.
I think at
I think so
certain
too.
times, Jenny, I feel like Walton Goggins, the actor, and Mike White, the director, had him look at him like he was his father and he was his killer. At the
Mhm.
same, it was like when they
Well, I
sometimes
mean,
he'd
he
be,
is in theory, because if he like basically faked his own death or just left, if his
yeah,
mother just told him his dad died
he
and
killed
he had just
himself.
left her,
Yeah,
if he
This is
just
a
left her, then it's basically he's dead to them. So
right. And
yeah.
what is one of the main themes that we've been talking about, which is identity, right? And
Mm-hmm.
self-identity and how you tell your own story.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that his mother says, and it goes back to the old Zen thing, if you meet the Buddha in the road, kill him. He killed himself, but he also, you're right, he is both his father and his father's killer at the same time. And he is maybe just as angry at him for being his father as he is for being a man who
But do you
killed
think
his father
do you think Rick knows?
because he took away the opportunity for him to be a son. That's what I'm saying. I think he does. I think
Okay.
he knows both. I think that's what I mean. I don't know, Andy, did you feel that like he's vacillating between that in his mind?
I
Or
don't
no, am
know
I
if
seeing that?
I don't know if Rick thinks that yet or not. I couldn't tell whether he was or not. I mean, yeah, the whole I'm pretty convinced it is his dad. I mean, the whole conversation it's like an Obi-Wan Kenobi thing from a certain
Yeah.
point of view. The whole Darth Vader isn't your father, he is your father. That's the total vibe I got that Scott Glenn's character, that's who that is. And but I don't as whether or not he knew, I don't know. I don't
I didn't get
What do
that
you think,
vibe.
Jenny?
I didn't get that vibe.
You didn't get that?
I
Then
didn't
I
get
got
that
more
then it
than
could
vibe
be me
from
reading into
him.
it. Yeah.
I got that he's, trying to find out or, condemn the man because like he killed his father. And then, later on when he's out with Steve Frank, um that was funny when he messed up
When
and
he
called
starts
him
drinking, he's
Frank.
like, "Yeah, I'll take a whiskey too." All right,
Yeah, but
yeah.
when he
really?
called him, he's like, "Hey, so he, Frank and her can," and he's like, "Steve."
Tell him, Steve
So
Frank.
Steve.
Those two are incredible
Oh,
together,
oh
man.
yeah, I'm
That
working
was
with
great.
another director named Frank. That was funny.
Yeah, I got more of that like Rick just felt that
Okay.
he was
All
kind of a
right.
feeble old
Yeah,
man and he
yeah,
felt bad
later
for him and
on.
he's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to become this guy. Let's
Yeah,
just
Yeah.
get the hell out of here.
yeah.
Okay. I see. I got maybe it's twofold. Perhaps in my inventive imagination, I imagined Mike White and Walton Goggins saying, let's, even though the character may not know that it's his father, I want you to look at him like he
Yeah,
is
oh,
your
I could see
father.
that.
Do you see what I mean? Like it
Hmm.
just gave me that kind of duality feeling. And that's what we're dealing with in this show on all these different levels. What did you think about Steve Frank deciding to drink again after giving us this huge monologue about his sober journey?
I don't think that he could handle telling all the lies and following along with the story he needed to tell with her sober. I just don't think he could.
Okay.
I think he felt like
Yeah.
incapable because he was stumbling all over himself. And he's like, you know what? Let me get one of
I
those.
also got from him, I kind of got this thing that he felt like he was doing something he shouldn't be, and it was
Yeah.
like this is really morally not a good thing I'm doing right now.
Yeah. I like
I
that.
need some liquid courage to
Yeah.
get myself through this. That was
I
If
I
I'm
think he was
in, I'm
doing
gonna
yeah,
be all in.
yeah.
exactly.
And now
I
let's
also
fucking
felt
go.
like,
Was the next
yeah,
part? Yeah.
and maybe he was also afraid, hey, he might end up shooting a motherfucker in front of me, so I just better get wasted. Like this is going
Yes.
down in a bad
Yeah.
way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
Yep.
going down with it. Like I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
just like he was, but that's the kind of, I think it didn't really surprise me because he had told us that story, right? So this is who this guy is. He
Yeah.
was like all in on his sobriety, and then he's right back in with the little Asian girls and bringing them back to the hotel room and snorting coke but Rick didn't do anything. He didn't engage. He was watching,
Mm-hmm.
right? He was just observing. He didn't
I
engage
think
in
he's
the
committed
drugs
to
or the
Chelsea
women
too.
or
I think
anything.
they actually have a little sweet
Yep.
love story
But
going,
did
and
that
I
free him though? Do you think the altercation of just pushing him down, which is in a
Yep.
way, it is a physical thing, but it's like metaphoric too, like pushing you lower than me, like I'm
Mhm.
gonna be strong,
I'm
just that,
hoping that it was
no?
Yeah.
enough.
He
I'm
realizes he's a better
hopeful.
person, and
Yeah.
just that look on his face when you see Sam Rockwell and all the girls dancing around, and the like, it's almost like uh, Rick's face is like this, like he's seen the light kind of a thing, where it's like he
He's
just
at
like he's
peace.
euphoric. Yeah, he's at peace,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think he's going to go back to his girlfriend and say, "Let's get married and let's live happily ever after," is what he's going to say. Who knows if it'll happen? But
Well,
Right.
that's my question, Jenny. Is that the end of it? Do you think that, do we
I'm
see
hopeful.
Shritala and Jim again, or?
Um, well, I've watched the preview, so I already know.
Oh, damn. Jenny. All right. Well, I would say I hope we do. I hope we find out who this man is
I loved
because
seeing the clips from her videos. Sorry. They
there.
were so fun.
they
It
were
was
good.
so like
Thank
90s.
you. The scene where Sam Rockwell and her just watching the video and he's like,
Yeah,
this
that was
is
so
one,
fun.
he's like, you've got a little, what did he say? Like, you've got a little thriller in this. You've got a little,
Yeah.
she's like, it's rap. It's, that
Yes, it
was,
was so
I,
much fun.
I
Did
really
he even
hope
say
that was
MC Hammer? I
improv.
want to say he did.
I think he said MC Hammer too. I hope that was improv. I hope they just turned the camera on and let them, even though it probably was very well written, but that was some of that was
It
again,
The
was
you're
thing
so
right,
I'm
the
fun.
humor. That was
what
so
I'm
fun.
really hoping too is that Sam Rockwell becomes like they kind of have these semi-recurring characters that pop in from other seasons. I hope he's the one that
Me
pops
too.
in at some point in the future again, because I don't
I
think I would
hope
want a
so.
whole series based around him, but
I
he's like the
would.
perfect little cherry on top, I think.
I love him. I love, love, love Sam Rockwell, former World of Video employee like myself. I'll always say that when I
And
say
I do
Sam
think
Rockwell.
what's Scott Glenn's character's name again? Jim?
Jim.
I
Yeah,
think we
Jim
will
Rope.
see him again because I think, well, and he has the reaction once he realizes who Rick is talking about. Like he had
That
this reaction on
okay,
his face,
thank
like,
you.
"Oh, you're," or he's like, "Oh yeah, I know her." Like all of a sudden, his face lights up. That's
Okay.
kind of
Yes.
what led me
Jenny's
to
got
believe
the
that.
line, I'm sure, right,
Yeah,
Jenny?
well,
Do
I
you,
gotta find that part of the conversation. But when that happened, when he said her name, there
yeah.
was definitely a look on Jim's face when he said
And it was like
Gloria
a
or
positive
whatever it
look. That's why
was.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking he will come and find him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Gloria Hatchet, he says his mother's name and
Gloria
Yeah, there you
keeps
go.
Hatchet. He
saying
says
things.
Gloria Hatchet
And Jim
like
is
that.
confused.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then he knows but
and
it
then he
was,
realizes who she was. Yeah,
do you think so? He had an opportunity to say to him, Gloria Hatchet, I didn't kill her. I was her boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like to
yeah,
say something, but he didn't. He didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that makes me feel even more so that that's his son, that he
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
didn't say it.
That's
Mm-hmm.
Like he was
Yeah,
just
because
shocked.
it was like he was shocked because his
Yeah.
eyes kind of got
hmm
big, not as
yeah.
big as Chelsea's, but then they still got big. And he did kind of pull back a little bit with a look on it. Yeah, it definitely
Yeah.
appeared to be at least mild shock that
Yes.
the name, he definitely seemed to know it.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Well, that was something else. And I was also happy that we got so much Sam Rockwell in the episode too, because I wasn't sure that we were going to get to, like, as they sat down, I was like, oh, this is awesome. We're going to get to see them do this whole bullshit
Yes.
routine. This is going to be fun. And then the
Yeah.
partying after. But yeah, I was kind of proud of Rick that he didn't partake in anything. He was just kind of sitting there. And it's almost as if like there is something to be said for Rick and Steve Frank being the same person in a sense, like again, a duality of personality,
Hmm.
that Steve Frank is Rick's kind of alter ego, you know? If this was a different kind of show and they pulled back and he wasn't there at all, and it was Walton Goggins by himself with the women, I wouldn't be surprised. It kind of played like that. It felt a little Tyler Durden-esque to me, the whole kind of situation.
Yeah.
But like, here's my friend, and then he just throws the gun in the garbage too. So his gun is out. He's not bringing that gun back to the hotel,
Right.
Yep.
right? That's interesting.
And Guy
Um,
Talk put the one back in the thing. I'm assuming that it's locked back in the box like it's
Yeah,
supposed to
yeah,
be.
it should be. It should be.
Yeah. I think
Um,
so.
we talked, we talked a lot about Guy Talk and Mook, but Andy, we just to bring you up to speed, we were talking
Yeah.
about how, for me at least, my feelings kind of switched because Mook was really pushing him to fight, be violent, it's okay, and he was like, he kind of surprised me by being more of a thinking person than I thought he was when he explained his rationale and his beliefs of nonviolence.
hmm
Um, but what did you think of Mook kind of pushing him in that way?
I don't know. I was kind of surprised, but I thought it was interesting. I don't know. I don't have that part. I hadn't really. I don't know. I don't have a real strong opinion on that part either way because that's one storyline that I'm kind of like is what's something there has been lacking. I think even with the gun and the I don't know. I don't know. I know that's not a great podcast answer, but
How do
I
you
don't have a
feel?
real.
How do you feel about Guy Talk this season?
He's
Have you listened to our
fine.
podcast? You know how we think about him,
Yeah,
right?
I have the only one I didn't catch up until last week. So I listened to half of you and when Heath was on, but otherwise I haven't listened to the other. But I listened to the first episode, but then it took me a while to catch up. So I have no idea what you guys think. most of these
Just
topics.
basically, he was kind of a putz. He was a little, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Worst
Like,
security
yeah,
guard
he was not good at
ever.
his job. He shouldn't be a
No, yeah.
security guard. You know, he's too, and I thought he was too putsy for it. Now I see he actually is a nice guy. You know, he has
Yeah,
his reasoning.
he's not cut out for the job he has, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. But we
Right.
see,
He should be like at the guest reception desk, checking people
Yeah.
in.
he
That's what
should.
Yeah.
he should be doing.
He
Yep.
should. You're absolutely right. Everybody in the interior needs a new job, right?
Yeah. Or like the guy in last season who was had to greet people on the beach or something. That should have been, yeah, because
Yeah.
it's, and I mean, for the job he has, what that conversation is probably what he needed to have if he wants to keep that job, to be stronger and tougher. But I don't think he has that in him personally. But
No, no, unfortunately, I don't know that he does. And yeah, like, well, we were kind of talking about it. We're hoping that he doesn't become an unfortunate either aggressor or victim in something that's going on with Lori finding the diamond, finding the jewels and everything.
yeah.
Let's talk about the ladies. They're so fun. All right, Jenny, here we are. It's ladies' time. The
I don't know
three.
if y'all could see that because my ring light's reflecting in my glasses, but I was rolling my eyes real hard.
Jacqueline still can't understand why anyone's upset. She just doesn't get it. Why are you upset? Why would you be upset that I throw a guy at you and then I fuck him? Why would you be upset that I am just constantly trying to get attention everywhere I go at the expense of my friends? I'm married to, I told you how much I love my husband, but then I fucked this dude. So why would any of you think this is a strange occurrence? What are your
Oh,
thoughts about what's going on with the ladies, Jenny?
I'm just, I get it because I obviously am a lady and I know how women can be, and I've, known women with similar types of personalities, and I can see where Kate's trying to play peacemaker, but she's annoyed with Jacqueline too, and she's become annoyed with Lori for not just letting it go because it's like we're on vacation. Just fucking let it go. It's
mm,
not worth it. We need to enjoy our time here. We only have so much time here. So let it go. And so
This
she's
is yeah.
annoyed with Lori. She's annoyed with Jacqueline, understandably so. And Lori's taking it to the extreme. And I get it because and Jacqueline's over there picking with her, talking about, you chose to marry so and so. You chose to do this. Lori bringing up stuff from 20 years ago, 15 years ago. You were screwing her husband or whatever, her
uh,
husband.
Their husbands.
But anyway, I mean they're falling apart. Those ladies are probably never going to talk to each other again after this.
Or they'll just end it by
Or
hugging each
well,
other
I
and
mean
going,
somebody may die.
yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Or they'll be like, let's meet back here
it's,
next year. This was so fun.
I have a
You
feeling
know?
this is not the first kind of time they've had this kind of spats and falling out. It might be a little more raw because older things are coming out, like political affiliations and stuff. But
Well,
I know
also
guys that act like this, so
when you get
it's
to be the age they're getting to be, which is I think slightly younger than me, maybe 5 to 7 years younger than I am. Mid 40s is where I think they're supposed to be.
Yes, mid
And
yep.
so they're getting to a point where women get to like getting into menopause, getting close to menopause, you start becoming even more timid women, start becoming more outspoken and more they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And so I can see that this may be the last trip
Okay,
because
that makes sense. Yeah.
you get to a point and you're like, you know what? I don't have time for this in my life anymore. I don't need the stress of it.
Yeah. That sounds like the opposite of our awesome Portland trip, right, Ando?
The exact opposite. That just made us even, yeah,
Made
we
me
don't need to
feel
go into
good.
that. That's a
But
different
as
podcast.
Andy says, it's not just, I was talking about this with my friend yesterday, how men kind
Oh yeah.
of at our age, at a similar age, men go through changes too, right? We don't have obviously the menopausal things happening, but there's a kind there as people you used to call it like a midlife crisis, or you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, and you could this could in a sense these three women echo for me a lot of the grandfather, father, and son of last season. We've kind of talked about that.
Oh yeah.
They kind of just in the family type bickering that goes on, you know, and it's like you're
Hmm.
still the same, you haven't changed, you're still, you know, and like, but Jacqueline playing this game of like, why is anyone upset? And you're right, Leslie Bibb's character is kind of, she is the peacemaker. She is trying to just make everyone happy and everyone get along and like let's move it through. And then if you see politically speaking, as you mentioned, Andy, that is the reason why she voted for Trump. It was because of her family and the people around her and the way that they reacted to her. Like I said at the time, they missed an opportunity to actually talk to her about it and not just shame her about it. Because for her, it wasn't about politics or really even
Yep.
policy or anything like that. It had nothing to do with that. It
Hmm.
had to do with her own social construct and her identity.
Yep.
So I kind of I feel myself more and more on her side. Like I would probably be her in this situation. I'm usually more the person who's like, "Hey, come on, let's get along. We don't need to, we're here to have
That's
fun, guys. Let's you know what I'm saying? Like there's no time. We don't need to do this. You
Are you
know,
guys
it's all
enjoying
good."
the are you guys enjoying the stuff with these three through the
I
season? I
love
actually
it.
am I'm finding myself enjoying it quite a bit
Yeah,
now.
I love it. I love it's like house. It's like a housewife's trip to me. They're my and of course, but it's also I have a huge
I just
crush on
want to
Carrie
know, I
Coon.
mean, other than the Russians, how they fit into this larger story because I don't
Yeah.
see it other than the Russians.
I don't. I
What
see it definitely. I see it because it's a story of transformation. It's a story of identity. It's a story
I guess
of
identity. You're right.
even in a sense reincarnation, becoming a new person or changing or the face that you wear. You know, I find
They don't
I
seem
well,
to
like
be
it.
transforming or
I think
changing a whole lot,
I
but they're
think what
bashing each other for not.
That well,
I I,
that's a point.
I think part of why I'm now that we're talking about it, I think part of why too I think I've enjoyed this episode and the last episode more is because these three and specifically another character which I'm sure we will talk about are finally letting like they're finally being told who they really are instead of Patrick Schwarzenegger would be the other one, where he's just getting people are now finally being like, "Hey, you dipshit, this is what you actually are," and these women
Yeah,
are doing that to each other. So stuff is actually coming out in the open that I think has been hidden, and they were hiding behind all this bullshit, and now they're not real. They're just kind of letting it all fly. I think that's part of why I'm enjoying the
yeah.
last couple
I
episodes as
like
well.
it.
Is they're dropping some of the pretension and they're actually letting stuff out in the open. But and I mean, I also love these three actresses. I've always have.
There
So
was
it's
one, sorry, go
no,
ahead.
go ahead, go
There was
ahead.
one part of their conversation that I thought was interesting. And it didn't start. I mean, Jacqueline was kind of being bitchy when she's like, if you always choose the short stick, is it bad luck? Are you life's victim? Or
Yeah,
are you doing it to
good
yourself?
point.
Yeah.
But then
Yes.
Kate says, I mean, when you know someone long enough, you do start to see certain patterns. And Lori is very defensive. Okay. And what pattern is that, Kate?
Hmm.
And Kate does say it nicely. She says, well, it's like the source of your disappointment changes, but the constant is you're always disappointed.
That was an
Do
awesome
you
conversation.
mean,
That conversation was
wait
great.
a second. Do you mean that she is the cause of her own suffering? Is that what she's trying to tell? I don't know where I've heard that before from the
There you
Buddhist
go.
monk in the episode. Yeah, she's the cause of her own suffering, and they all are. And like you said, though, Jenny, when you brought up the fact that you don't see them changing,
Hmm.
that's what's of interest here, right? We have one episode left. Are they going to change? Are they gonna wake up? Are any of them gonna see who they are and want to become more true to who they are or who they could be or who they want to be? I guess that we're gonna have to see what happens. But
Hmm.
Or
and
maybe
see,
they'll be forced to be because something will happen. You know, there's going to be some big event that happens.
Right.
we know we saw it in the beginning, Ando,
Yeah,
right? Somebody's gonna
that's what I
get
mean.
Shazat.
Yeah.
Let's move it over to the Ratliffs, our favorite family of
Oh God.
Piper and Lachlan and Saxon. Timothy. Let's talk about Saxon because I want to say that when this first episode came out and Saxon went into the bathroom and with his bare ass showed us a little of his schlongo and then proceeded to do stuff like right with his brother in the other room. I was on there was some like, White Lotus Facebook group or someone's okay, and someone said, you know what? I feel like we're being set up maybe with this Saxon character that he might actually end up becoming like the person who changes the most in this season because he's so
Well, that'd be
outwardly.
good if that happened.
Yeah,
Well,
that
let's
needs to
see it.
happen.
It looks like it might. I don't know. Like you were saying, Andy, he
Oh, I'm
people
not
are
saying it's
saying
not
to him,
possible. Yeah.
yeah, it is. But I'm agreeing. Like Andy was
Hmm.
saying too. Like the women are telling him who he is, point
Hmm.
blank. His brother shocked him with his sexual proclivities. And even when he tried to hide that, the women were like, "Oh no, your brother jerked you off, bro. We watched it. Like it happened."
And
And
he's gonna
he,
have an even bigger awakening when he finds out what his dad has been up to.
yes, and then and that's what this part when he's like, "My identity is this, Dad.
Yeah.
What
I
else
actually
am
started to
I?"
feel bad for him when he's having that conversation,
Yes.
which
Yep.
I did not think was possible because I have hated that character so
That
much.
was a deep thing for him to say, yo.
Yeah.
That was a super deep thing for him to say
Uh-huh.
to his dad. That may have been the deepest. This is awakening. I think all the kids might end up, that whole family might end up in the monastery at the end
I
of this season.
was
Well,
it was it this episode or last one when the dad went and talked to the monk? I thought like the monk was
Last
gonna.
episode.
I was thinking maybe he just stays with the monks because he doesn't have
Yeah.
anywhere to go at this point.
yeah, but he seems to still be dreaming of, I
Yeah, it's
just need to
true.
kill everybody because
Yes, he's still caught in
Yeah.
that. Yep.
Victoria says she can't live uncomfortably. And Saxon's saying, I've put my whole life into this basket, into your basket, Dad.
Oh man.
So he's got to get rid of his wife and his son. And what about the other two? I mean, is he going to be satisfied with them just staying there at the monastery? And is Piper going to be able to like be zen enough to be okay with her brother staying there too? Like
Yeah.
what is
Yeah,
up?
she definitely
Like
doesn't want him around.
she
That was
No,
didn't look
weird.
no.
pleased. And it was like
No.
I think
This is an escape.
yeah, she
Yeah.
loves her little brother, but she wants to like this is her thing. And she
Yeah.
Hmm.
wants him to find his own thing. And then
Yeah.
like but like also I would hope that with her studying Buddhism that she would like have some knowledge that she shouldn't push him away from doing it just because of how she's feeling because that's like yourself, right?
Yeah.
And you're
She's
supposed
still a
to.
human.
So I know, I know, that's what I'm saying, but I hope that
Yeah.
like as she thinks on it, like she discovers that within herself and tries to become the better person and lets him go ahead and stay or whatever,
Or,
or talks to him and
yes,
makes him
Jenny, or
understand
she,
that he really
yeah.
doesn't want to stay, he just wants to find something for himself.
Or she's just honest with him in that way and says, "You
Yeah.
know what? I love you, but also maybe this is my journey and it's okay for me to be honestly selfish with you and say, I need to do this by myself. If there's another temple down the road or something,
Right,
or
right,
you can
right.
find your own journey,
Yeah,
but this is mine." And
right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that would be something for Piper of a growth in her character. I think that I see um, them all kind of growing and trying to make better choices. As we do see, to get back to Saxon, he chooses not to go have sex with Chloe in front of Greg Gary. He says no.
Yeah.
And he walks
Oh,
away from it. And if you go back to the first episode,
Yeah.
he seemed like the type of guy that if she in the first episode had leaned over to him and said, "Do you want to fuck me while my rich old bald
yeah,
husband
he would have
watches?"
said, "Let's go."
He would have been like, "What time? Yeah, let's hit it."
Yeah.
And
So there's
also,
a growth there.
he wouldn't have had any reason to think that there's something skeevy about this, and maybe that guy isn't necessarily just interested in watching. Maybe he's gonna come and freaking shoot me or stab me or something while I'm fucking her and and not able to
I don't,
defend myself.
I don't
I
know
mean,
if
I'm
I
not
got
saying that
that.
he's deep like
Yeah.
that, but you know,
I think it was more about
it's
like I've had
but I
my
do hope
fun
that
with
yeah,
crazy sex
yeah.
shit with my brother jerking me
Yeah, I
off,
think he
like
doesn't want to
Uh,
be involved in
kind
sex
of
with another man around, involved in the
kind of hit the
situation at all.
crescendo, you know what I'm saying? Like can't really get higher than the old.
he peaked, is what you're trying to
Yeah,
say?
he peaked. He peaked. He reached a climax.
So is
Um, but I want to go back to because you have it in the notes, and I think it's really important for the themes that are playing out on the show. That the reason why Greg, the whole story that Chloe tells them about Greg Gary hearing his parents having sex when he was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and it basically formulated this fantasy in him of wanting to discover his parents having sex again,
Mm-hmm.
that to kind of redo this again, which while I'm watching it, I want to ask you two. To me, that made complete and total sense. Did this make sense to you? Or do you think most people watching it are thinking, what a pervert, this guy is like? I think it made complete, from a psychological standpoint, I completely understood it. Anyone
Well,
want to venture in there
I
water
don't
with me or what?
I don't know how I feel about it. It's
like, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, and as long as it's two consenting adults, whatever.
No, I'm not saying
But
I
I'm
would do it,
saying
Jenny. I'm
that
saying I
no,
understand it.
no, I'm saying where I was going was it seems a little odd that like he is his erotic fantasy involves his parents fucking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
you
And to
think? Yes,
me,
it's
that seems a little like you've got a psychological problem there. Not again, not trying to
okay.
kink shame in any way, shape, or form. But if you're thinking about your parents, I think that you've got something going on. I mean, wasn't that what Psycho was all about?
yeah.
I've never even seen the
There's a
movie,
lot
and I know
of
that.
there's a lot of
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of movies about dudes wanting to fuck their moms, Jenny. If you
Yeah.
go back and look in classic Hollywood, it was a theme. It was a big theme. Like there's classes on it. Um, but I totally yes. I want to wait. I want Andy to answer this question.
I don't even know how to answer because it's so far. That's something I never would have even thought of a thing that would be a thing. You know what I mean? So I don't. Oh,
And what
I mean,
was
I
the
guess
reason
it.
that made him watch in the first place? Why?
Well,
Why did he do
it
that?
wasn't.
Most people would
It
be
no, no,
disgusted
no.
and
You
walk
have
away.
go. You have it. Look, read
Yeah.
it. He had no choice. They were having sex that was so loud that he had no choice but to hear it. And they would leave the door open.
But then he would stand outside their door and
I'm
just
not,
watch his dad go to
yes.
town on
Okay,
his mom.
okay.
He didn't
You
have to
know, though.
stand outside the door and watch. That's my point. Yes, he could hear it.
Okay,
Yes, that's
Th
problematic that his
okay,
parents were doing that.
okay.
Did he have to stand at the door and watch? Fuck no, he did
I
not.
guess it's a choice. It's a choice,
And
It
but
is
you
a
are a child.
choice.
He was a child, but it was a choice.
I got the impression too, though, that Greg and what's her name again? The girlfriend,
Chloe.
Chloe.
Chloe. I got the feeling that they didn't tell each other everything and didn't really know what the other one was doing. So I'm not 100% even sure what Chloe was saying was accurate.
Oh, I think that
You do think it is?
yes,
Okay.
because we saw last episode when he tells her when he opens the leg and he's like, okay, this is not the right time to be having this conversation, Andy.
You
Let's
can't. I've got my
okay.
earphones in. You're okay.
Okay, I feel weird right now. I feel weird. This is making me feel weird.
For those
Luke,
who are
go play
listening and not
PS5, Luke.
watching,
Andy's
Andy's son Luke
Andy's
is in the
Andy's
background.
son is walking around in the background as we talk
He's
about
only
this.
8,
Okay,
You'll be
so
done
he's
in a few
left.
minutes, bud.
He's left. I'll just put it to you guys this way, okay? Heath and I covered a show called Mindhunter. And one of the most interesting parts of Mindhunter was discovering that a lot Oh, look at he's got the glasses on. Oh, he's looking cool. One of the most interesting parts of serial killers is the desire to be caught,
Yep.
and is the desire that to actually communicate with the police, to toy with them, to play this game, right? Which I always thought that doesn't really happen. It really
Yeah.
happens. It's a
Yep.
desire. And so the human mind, and especially when it comes to sexuality, that's why I like that Mike White addresses stuff like this. Because I think a lot of our sexual proclivities, and if we were all to be more honest than we want to be, we'd probably end up saying when we go back and find why we're turned on by certain things, it might be in ways that are very uncomfortable to discuss with other people. I don't have a proclivity such as watching my parents have sex and then wanting to see someone have sex with my girlfriend or wife. But if someone does have that proclivity, more power to them, as long as they're all consenting adults. I don't think that it is a mental instability or something's wrong with Greg or Gary. I think it's maybe something he needs to work through.
Yes,
It may not be healthy for
at
Chloe and
least,
him
at the
and the
very
other person
least.
involved, right?
Correct.
But
Yeah.
if they are all consenting adults, it could be very healthy and it could help him work through issues that he
Yeah, I'm not
has.
saying him watching Chloe have
Yeah.
sex with other people is any kind of demented. I'm saying the whole watching his
No, you're
parents,
right. He has to
that
work through
part.
that because that
Yeah.
was something done to a child by
Yeah.
adults,
Yes.
right? Adults
Yes.
did that to a child. And
Yes.
they also didn't take any time to talk to him about it or deal with it. So I thought it was really interesting that this guy who we know so little about, right? And mostly negative stuff was kind of given an empathetic story. I thought that that was a very interesting story to me.
But
And
also
now we don't have
twisted.
to talk about it anymore.
But also
Okay, Luke?
twisted.
It's pretty twisted. And I also agree, moving on to talking about the other Ratliff family, um, Timothy, not much growth this episode. We talked about last episode. Maybe there'd be some sort of growth after talking to the monk. He's still having, like you said, these fantasies of killing his family. He's popping the pills. I think the last thing we see is him pop a couple pills before he goes to sleep. He might not wake up. Did we, was that was the last time we saw him, right?
I
At the
think so.
very end was he
Him.
imagined offing Victoria, then Saxon, then himself, and then he finds the gun is gone. That was all I wrote.
Oh, I thought he went back to bed and took a bunch of pills. Maybe that was earlier in the episode
I don't
that
know.
that
If he
happened.
did,
Yeah, I
I
don't.
didn't write it down.
Okay.
I can't
All
remember.
right. But there's not much growth there. Um,
No.
I think we talked about Piper not really wanting Lachlan there. We didn't see much from Lachlan really. Most of the stuff from Lachlan was in reference to that, him wanting to escape what had happened, right? It'll be interesting to see when they arrive back with their parents, right? They're only supposed to stay there one night, correct?
Hmm.
Yep. There's one
So,
night that. Yep.
So weird. I don't know if there was a continuity thing or what, but it's when she went in to talk to Lachlan in his little room, it looked like she was wearing a white nightgown. Or was that what she had been wearing during the day? I don't know. But then when she sits up in bed later, she's in a blue t-shirt. I was like, why did she change out of her nightgown into a t-shirt to go to bed? I don't understand.
What were they? I don't remember. What were they wearing when they were doing
That's what I was trying to
the
remember
lecture
too.
part or
yeah, it could
whatever
be
you
an
want to, the sermon
extraneous
or whatever?
costume change because it's a scene change. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Hmm.
sometimes it just that's her bedwear or something, but I didn't notice that. I don't know. Um,
Oh, so Belinda and Gary Gregg
yeah,
and Zion.
let's
That's
talk about it. I
Hold
uh,
on,
think that's what we got
before we go to
left.
there, what do you guys think about Victoria? What is she gonna Parker Posey? Because I don't see any growth for her at all. She's
I
just gonna
think
be in
she's gonna
misery when
die.
she. That's what I'm wondering too. Because
Oh,
I think I
what
said that last week.
there's no growth coming really that I can see. All she's gonna do is find. I'm assuming find out what her husband has been doing.
Didn't Gina bring up the
yeah.
suicide fruit last week?
Oh, that's right.
Oh.
Yes, I forgot about that.
See, that's just, oh, but this is the one thing we should say. There is a bit of
That was in
news.
episode 1, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
specifically
A
was
lot of
told to
people are
them.
on it. Yeah. A lot of
Yeah.
Yep.
people are on it though, Jenny. Like I listen to some other podcasts and read some stuff, and a lot of people are like, this is coming back. Somebody's going to eat it.
Yep.
Um, but,
I think it'll
oh,
be in a smoothie.
what I forgot to say is
With that
it
fucking
has to be.
blender.
It
Yes,
has
of
to be.
course.
What I was going to say is bit of news, breaking news. I just read before we went on, I forgot to lead the show with it, that the finale is an hour and a half.
Oh, good.
Oh, wow.
So that leaves a lot of time for things to happen, and for characters to change or move or grow or whatever. Because I was just thinking there is so many moving parts here.
Well, and the one thing, even though I didn't like season one, I remember that final episode. I love the way, I mean, I like the way Blake White ties all the things together.
Yeah.
The final episode, both seasons, I think has been great.
And then you know that the murder is going to be some way that no one thought about and doesn't really affect the people that we thought it was going to
Yeah.
affect. And I'm going to be totally okay with that. I'm
Well,
really
and
looking forward to
it
it.
was kind of like, I think I said something similar when we talked about it last week. This is not, if I want mysteries and stuff, I watch a show like Severance. This is not a show that, to me, the mystery is not the interesting thing here. It's the characters
Of
because they're so
course,
weird and
yes,
messed up.
100%.
So,
Nothing needs to happen in the show for
no.
me. I'm
Yeah,
all
me
in.
either.
Yeah, I talked about this last. Oh, actually, me and you talked about it, Andy, where I said I think this is a show. If you like reality TV shows,
Yeah,
you're
me
probably
too.
going to like this show more because it really is just like someone being offended is a big storyline, right? Like, and I like that. Or somebody had sex with this per. It's gossipy, and
Yeah.
I kind of dig that. But let's talk about Belinda, Zion, Gary, Greg. We now know Zion knows everything. I loved his attitude where he's like, let's go. Let's see what the fuck he wants to say.
You
You
know
know what
what?
I'm
He actually
saying?
might be the
Like,
one character I do like. I do like
yeah.
him a lot. I'm
I
rooting for
think
him.
him and Chelsea should get
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
together.
yes, I always forget about
yes.
Chelsea. I
Yeah.
like her
Yeah.
too.
I do
And I
like
don't
Chelsea
hate
too.
Chloe.
Yep.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
would be a good couple though. Chelsea and Zion walk off together at the end. Like if this whole thing ended where Chelsea's sitting there like wide-eyed in shock or something, and then Zion sits down next to her and is just like, "Hi," and then they just look at each other and then it cuts to black. I would be like, "That's a fucking ending, man. I like that shit." But they decide to go. They go to the party. What happens? Gary offers her $100,000 basically to keep her mouth shut, spills the
He
beans
admits
on.
that he admits that he's who she
Yeah,
thought
that's
he
what I was
Yeah.
gonna
was.
say.
Yeah.
Spills the beans on
Yeah.
everything. Everything's out in the open.
I
Basically
didn't kill her
offers,
though.
yeah, I didn't kill her. He just wants to be left alone. That's why he's offering her the money. And plus
No, she
because
wanted to help you. Let me
exactly,
help you.
she wanted to help you.
I did
Now,
think it was a nice twist that he actually admitted that that's who he was. Because a lot of other shows the guy character would keep trying to fake it and say, no, that's not me or whatever. And he actually so I thought that was a nice touch, just a small
it
writing
was
touch
the
that I liked.
smartest way to go about it on his
Hmm.
part, right?
Yeah,
And
for sure.
the way he handled it was probably the best thing she could have hoped for, really. So why the fuck didn't she just take the money? I would have taken the money. I'm sorry. I would have been like, okay, you can put it in my bank account. And then I would have went back and said, Zion, we're getting on a fucking plane right now. Get the
Yeah.
fuck out of here. And I would have been out. I would have been like, here's my bank account number. I'm leaving it tomorrow morning anyway. Bye. But
And
she's didn't want to do that.
it's like she has to know that he's not going to face any justice where they are.
There is
So I don't.
extradition. There is
Oh, there
extradition.
is.
There is maybe not though where the murder happened. That's what I was thinking about later.
To
We
Yeah.
talked about
Italy.
this. Yeah, that's the problem is are they US citizens? We don't even know their citizenship. We don't even know
And
anything, like
I also can't remember. Maybe you guys can refresh my memory. At the end of season two, was everybody on that boat dead besides him? Like the people that were with
Dude,
Jennifer
I don't
Coolidge's
even
character?
remember what happened in
Was
season 2,
everybody? I
so
think
I'm gonna
everybody was
use.
wiped out in that boat,
yes,
wasn't it?
everybody died. She was the
There was
last one
no
and then she slipped and fell off the boat.
yeah, there was no survivors, I thought,
Yeah,
right?
yep.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I couldn't remember how that exactly ended,
But
but
there was enough evidence to show there was foul
yeah,
play. that went on the boat. So that's why he would be wanted for questioning
Yeah.
and all that. So I don't know, Jenny, would have you taken the money? What have you done if you were her?
I honestly, I have no idea. I cannot put myself in her shoes. I struggle to even try. But I mean, $100,000 is not that much money,
I'll
honestly. I
take
mean,
it.
no, I would take it too if somebody was giving it to me. I'm not
Yeah.
saying I would spit on it.
No,
I'm
right,
just
right. I know what you
saying,
mean.
like, for
It ain't
her
gonna open the
to,
White Lotus.
yeah,
No.
for, but also for her to just forget about it. I mean, she liked Tanya, and she,
Right.
her conscience is like, it would make me an accessory after the fact or whatever. I can understand her, the conflict she is feeling for sure. um so I can't speak to what I would do because I really don't know. um but I would like to take $100,000, but I would also still be afraid that he would come after me because I know too much.
Well, yeah, and anybody that offers you $100,000, you can't predict what they're gonna do or what. Yeah, like I said, that he wouldn't come
Yes.
back again or
That's the thing, Ando. He's got you on the hook, right? And is he
he,
gonna let you alone? Is
yeah.
he?
Hmm.
But then we do have the outstanding offer from Porn Chai. Let's start
And
a
we
thing
didn't
together.
see him this episode. I missed him.
Nope,
That's
we didn't
right.
get any Porn Chai.
I
Um,
forgot about him. Yes.
but you put those together, and maybe Belinda's thinking, I don't know, maybe I
Hmm.
should do this. I don't know.
I kind of get the
You
feeling that she's
know.
just one of those people that just doesn't like secrets and doesn't like having to keep secrets. And
Yeah.
But the truth is, too, that Greg did not kill her. She fell off
yeah,
the
No.
side of the boat,
yeah,
right?
and
So, I mean, we keep on talking about like he killed her. He did set forth a plan to murder her, but it didn't work, and she
yeah.
fell off the boat.
One, did we even really have that confirmed? I mean, we all assume that. I don't think it was ever actually
No,
confirmed
it
that.
wasn't. It was only by the picture. It was
Yeah,
simply the picture
it was
that
kind of
that
all of us watching it kind of ABC and it together kind of a
yeah.
thing, but I don't think it was, yeah, like you said, it was ever actually, we don't know exactly
Well,
what he did. I don't
that
think. Maybe we
guy,
did.
what was I think his name? Why do I want? Was it Quentin? I always think his name was Quentin, but he said that was the love of his life.
Yeah,
So we have a little bit more, there was more said too. We could go back and
yeah.
look at that again. Maybe I'll rewatch that finale before this finale. That might be fun. I think I will do that.
I watched like the first 4 or 5 episodes. I think 4 episodes of season one. Might have been three. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There were only 6 episodes and 7 episodes, so I probably will have rewatched all of the first 2 seasons before we get to the finale because I'm tired of not remembering anything.
What was it? Okay. Aha! It was Quentin.
Good job.
It was Quentin. I was right. Nice.
When I started watching the first season, and I was like, I vaguely remember this. Yeah, I kind of remember that. And then the idiot on his honeymoon that got the wrong room came into play, and I was like, I remember this motherfucker.
Yeah, yeah.
A trip down memory lane with Jenny. That's hilarious. All right. Well, we talked about them. Talked about Zion, Belinda. Talked about Rick. I think we pretty much covered. Um, I mean, that end part. We didn't talk about what's it? What was his name? The Russian Valin. No,
Valentin,
the Russian
Alexei, Vlad.
Alexei. Thank you, Alexei. We didn't talk about the very funny um, scene where Alexei is like, "You have Venmo? You have
Yeah.
PayPal? I only need 10G for my
Cash
mom.
App.
Cash App." And
God,
I thought
yeah.
that was hilarious. And she's like, "Huh? Huh?
She's like,
Huh?"
I
And
don't
then
have
just in
money like
time, she's
that.
saved by the Russian girl pounding on the door, which
So
was that whole thing was funny as hell. What an
I,
adventure.
I said Lori should count her lucky stars that Nadia shows up, but because I have the captions on because I'm old, and sometimes I can't hear it very well. Uh, but also, they put that in English, I think, anyway. But she called him Leosha.
Oh,
Maybe it was just
Leosha.
the captions, but it
Hmm.
was Lyosha, which may mean nothing. Maybe his name just really isn't Alexi, and that's just the fake name that he's using with the trio of women. I have no idea, but I did find that interesting that she called him by a different name. I don't know that it means anything. I just thought it was interesting.
Well, that is interesting. Something's going on there. We'll get to the
Yeah.
bottom of what's happening there. Um, I just think this is a great role for Carrie Coon. She's awesome in it. I love her so much. That whole thing was funny. Is there anything else that we didn't? Oh, I do want to mention the opening kind of cuts back and forth between
Oh, the Muay
the
Thai.
the Muay Thai and the people getting ready and the people talking and the kind of the combat and the verbal combat.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
thought that
kind of
was
like
cool. I like that a
the
lot.
yeah, and it was also like the undercard leading up to the big
Yep.
fight.
To the main
I
event. Yeah.
that was some fucking great direction and
Yep.
also the shots, kind of the slow-mo and then it was, man, what great direction. Kudos to
Yeah.
Mike White for the direction of this as well. That was fantastic stuff. This whole episode, there were just beautiful shots, great direction of actors and blocking. Even when they ran out of Shritala's house, the way that was choreographed made it so easy for us as viewers to understand where they were, getting to the boat, going past the guys, jumping back in. And then the boat goes one way, but then another boat comes another way. And then
Hmm.
it cuts. And that's always like, if you're an editor, you're always, getting excited for the cut on action that you can add in there, that extra boat comes through. Yeah. Or like when I was a camera guy, anytime somebody walked down a street, you always wanted someone else in the background to be walking, or there's just something about it. So I don't know, that just got me excited for a second there.
That was kind of like what I was saying before about the show, just overall. Like, even if I'm not liking the characters, yeah, I have to
Yeah.
respect the show because the production of just is so on
It's
every level is A plus. There's no
high
question about
class.
that.
Yep.
So I want to say something. I kind of want to actually recite this little thing, but let me clear my throat because it's gross. But when you were talking about the Muay Thai thing, it reminded me of the way how you were talking about the cuts and everything with that. At the beginning, the Buddhist teacher, I don't want to butcher his name, but I have it abbreviated as LPT. And I think it's Luang Portira, but I'm not sure. He says, remember this, every one of us has the capacity to kill. And that's superimposed over Rick's face, who Rick is considering violence, and then a Muay Thai fight. And he says, Buddhist scripture condemns violence in every form. Violence, aggression, anger stem from same source, fear. And we
Yeah.
see Guy Talk on his motorbike waiting for Mook. And then he says, the only good faith response is to sit with your feelings. And Mook puts on the helmet and gets on the back of the bike. And so it's Guy Talk and Mook, and Guy Talk doesn't want to participate in violence, and which we find out later. And Mook kind of is pushing him towards the violence. And then he says violence does spiritual harm, and we see Tim in the bathroom taking Victoria's pills. To victim and to perpetrator, Buddhists believe always nonviolence. And I thought that was like that whole thing, like with the scene cuts in between where he was saying all of that, was really powerful, and it like spoke to, like, I feel like this episode should have been called Violence rather than Killer Instinct, but it was really good.
You know, it
That was
also that
beautiful,
also
Jenny.
what you were just saying too also ties a little bit into Rick later on when Rick had and even when after he decides to not kill the guy when they're partying afterwards and Sam Rockwell is trying to get him to join in and he's basically just meditating and sitting in his thoughts
Hmm.
Just
figuring
sitting
stuff
with
out
it.
and yeah,
Yep.
very cool.
That goes back to the beginning. That was beautiful, Jenny. That was great. I love it. Yeah, this is
Sorry, my
this.
voice is all raspy. I
That's
tried to
all
get it
right.
a little clearer for that because I was like a lot of
In the
talking.
YouTube chat, John Wambacher is saying Puff the Magic Dragon Jenny. Um, he also says his wife says take the money. So I would have taken the money too.
Oh, there was some good
At
line. I
least you
see in
have
the
the
notes here
money.
you have Jenny that one of my I think maybe what made me feel good about this episode was it was comedy right at the beginning because you have here when Rick downs his entire drink and Jim comments, "That's my kind of drinker." I think that maybe just put me on the side of this episode right away when I heard that.
That's my kind of drinker. Yeah, I really have to say, I really love this season, and I really did. The more we get to talk about these episodes, I'm really happy that we got an opportunity to do it. Um, and I'm looking forward to next week, which is our finale. And unfortunately, Gina will not be back with us, though I am hoping that either the week after, hopefully soon after, or whenever she arrives home when she's ready, we can come back, Jenny, and do kind of like a season wrap up with Gina
Sure.
and get her impressions of the finale. But we will be back next week, hopefully with another guest. It could be Andy, it could be Heath, it could be, if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I want to talk about White Lotus, shoot me an email. Maybe this is an opportunity because now that I think about it, we started the show talking about how Jenny, how you came on from listening and then reaching out
Mhm.
and look at you're a fucking professional podcaster now. You two and we're all
Yeah,
pros. Someone
same
else.
way.
Maybe it's time to uplift someone else out there in the DVR podcast network universe.
Bring
If you
someone else
want
up
to,
from the minor leagues.
yeah, if you're ready to do it and you want to be on camera, then and you got something to say and you're not Luke in the back. What happened to the glasses, Luke?
Axel wants to know what happened to your sunglasses. Yeah, you, you took
What
them
a
off.
cutie. What a cutie. Shoot us an email, dvrpodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on the Facebook group, Daily DVR, a TV and film group. Any final, I kind of even hasten to say any final predictions or whatever, because I know we're just going to watch what happens and we're going to enjoy it. But does anyone have any final predictions, thoughts before we go into the finale, Jenny?
No, I already said last week I somehow think that Victoria's gonna die. I don't know why or how, but and also I think that the suicide fruit is gonna become murder fruit.
All right.
Yeah, that's yeah, I don't really have any predictions either. I will say one thing about this, just talking about this makes me appreciate the show more, which
Yes.
because I it was a show I didn't really it's not like some of the other show well like Severance we just covered where I was analyzing every single second of the show. This is a show that I really just kind of I don't know, exist in the show kind of where I just kind
Yeah,
of hang out and watch it and let it kind of
totally.
I hate using the wash over me cliche, but that's really what I do with this show. So I don't actually dig into all the metaphors and how things are symbolized and different things. So it's fun talking about it. I think I appreciate the show a little bit more after having this conversation. So
That's awesome. Well, that's all we hope for. That's why we do this, baby. Yeah, and guess what? I probably won't be able to do it on Friday when we have our friend Mike from One Mike on because he does not like this season. I don't know. I'm
I
not,
would
I
say
thought
he
of,
hates this season.
yeah, he really hates it. So I thought I'd say to him, hey, Mike, now listen, nobody wants to listen to me try to convince you to like this show. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Let's spend the next hour arguing. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to say to him he should watch it. But it is that I think particularly this season of this show, if it's not hitting you, maybe at another point it will. But I do think it's great television. It's great writing, acting, directing, cinematography, production. Everything on it is high quality. I've enjoyed it a lot. We'll be back next week. We'll see who's with us. If someone wants to join us for the finale, Jenny and I will definitely be here. Andy, thank you very much for coming on. We
Thanks for having me.
appreciate you. It's been awesome. Gina out there, we hope you're safe
We miss
out
you.
there in
Hope you're having
foreign
a
lands.
blast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
no
having a
kidding.
lot of fun. All right, everybody, I'm going to try to do the Dylan two-hander.